Trump joined by Musk on campaign trail in return to scene of July assassination attempt. Donald Trump picked up where he left off back in July when a gunman tried to assassinate him but only struck his ear before he raised his fist and shouted, "Fight!" and was whisked away with blood across his face. Tonight I returned to Butler in the aftermath of tragedy and heartache to deliver a simple message to the people of Pennsylvania and to the people of America, said the Republican presidential nominee. Our movement to make America great again stands stronger, prouder, more united, more determined, and nearer to victory than ever before. The Trump campaign wanted to maximize the event's headline-grabbing potential with just 30 days to go in his race against his Democratic opponent Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump said the assassin tried to silence him, calling him a vicious monster, and saying he did not succeed by the hand of Providence and the grace of God. Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, got on stage at the Butler Farm Showgrounds to speak before the former president and reflected on the events that day while severely criticizing Democrats for calling Trump a threat to democracy, saying that kind of language is inflammatory. You heard the shots. You saw the blood. We all feared the worst. But you knew everything would be okay when President Trump raised his fist high in the air and shouted, "Fight! Fight!" said Vance, who was chosen as his vice presidential nominee less than 2 days later. Now I believe it is sure as I'm standing here today that what happened was a true miracle. Billionaire Elon Musk is also expected to speak as the campaign elevates the headline-generating potential of his return in its tight race against Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. A billboard on the way into the rally said, "In Musk we trust," and showed his photo. A massive crowd stood shoulder to shoulder from the stage to the press stand, several hundred yards away at the event billed as a tribute to the American spirit. Area hotels, motels, and inns were said to be full and some rallygoers arrived Friday. Crowds were lined up as the sun rose Saturday. A memorial for firefighter Corey Compertor, who died as he shielded family members from gunfire, was set up in the bleachers, his fireman's jacket set up on display surrounded by flowers. His sisters were crying as speakers mentioned him. There was a very visible heightened security presence, with armed law enforcers in camouflage uniforms on roofs. Trump's plane did flybys over the venue before his arrival, drawing cheers from those gathered on the field below. As spectators spotted Trump's plane overhead, cell phones popped into the air. Trump planned to use the event to remember Compertor, a volunteer firefighter struck and killed at the July 13th rally, and to recognize the 2 other rallygoers injured, David Dutch and James Copenhaver. They and Trump were struck when 20-year-old shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, opened fire from an unsecured rooftop nearby before he was fatally shot by sharpshooters. The building from which Crooks fired was completely obscured by tractor-trailers, a large grassy perimeter, and a fence. Most bleachers were now at the sides, rather than behind Trump. How Crooks managed to outmaneuver law enforcement that day and scramble on top of a building within easy shooting distance of the ex-president is among many questions that remain unanswered about the worst Secret Service security failure in decades. Another is his motive. Butler County District Attorney Rich Goldinger told WPXI-TV this week that everyone is doubling down on their efforts to make sure this is done safely and correctly. Mike Slupe, the county sheriff, told the station he estimates the Secret Service was deploying quadruple the assets it did in July. The agency has undergone a painful reckoning over its handling of 2 attempts on Trump's life. Butler County, on the western edge of a coveted presidential swing state, is a Trump stronghold. He won the county with about 66% of the vote in both 2016 and 2020. About 57% of the county's 139,000 registered voters are Republicans, compared with about 29% who are Democrats and 14% something else. Chris Harpster, 30, of Tyrone, Pennsylvania, was accompanied by his girlfriend on Saturday as he returned to the scene. Of July 13th, he said, "I was afraid," as were his parents, watching at home, who texted him immediately after the shots rang out. Heightened security measures were making him feel better now, as well as the presence of his girlfriend, a first-time rally-goer. Harpster said he will be a third-time Trump voter in November, based on the Republican nominee's stances on immigration, guns, abortion, and energy. Harpster said he hopes Pennsylvania will go Republican, particularly out of concern over gas and oil industry jobs. Other townspeople were divided over the value of Trump's return. Heidi Priest, a Butler resident who started a Facebook group supporting Harris, said Trump's last visit fanned political tensions in the city. Whenever you see people supporting him and getting excited about him being here, it scares the people who don't want to see him re-elected, she said. Terry Palmquist came from Bakersfield, California, and said her 18-year-old daughter tried to dissuade her. I just figure we need to not let fear control us. That's what the other side wants is fear. If fear controls us, we lose, she said. She said she was not worried about her own safety. Honesty, I believe God's got Trump, for some reason. I do. So we're rooting for him. But Trump needs to drive up voter turnout in conservative strongholds like Butler County, an overwhelmingly white, rural suburban community, if he wants to win Pennsylvania in November. Harris, too, has targeted her campaign efforts at Pennsylvania, rallying there repeatedly as part of her aggressive outreach in critical swing states.